I'm going to start with the cover. The album that I'm making is the Under the Stars 5x7 album, and it has a 1.5 inch spine. So here are the measurements that we'll start with. The chipboard, you're going to need 2 that are 5x7 and 1 that's 1.5x7. We're going to wrap that with artisan cardstock. I'm using the white. So 2 pieces that are 7x9 and 1 that's 4.5x9. This second one's for the spine on the outs to connect it. And then I'm going to use a piece of cardstock that's 5x6 and 7/8 to cover that chipboard on the inside. The reason why I went with 5 is when I cut this to 7, I had 5 inches left over, so I just left it that way. So here are the measurements if you want to have a pad of paper and pencil as we go, if you want to take a screenshot, whatever works best for you. So after you have your chipboard cut, you're going to want to put, I put a sheet of score tape on the back. The Country Craft Creation sells score sheets, and it's much easier to use. And then I take off that backing, and I use the 1-inch spacers from Country Craft Creations, and I lay those down so that I can get a 1-inch border by putting my chipboard on the paper, so that now I have a 1-inch border on all 4 sides. So do that with both front and back cover so that you'll have 2 pieces that look like this, okay? Now your spine piece has a little bit wider border on the sides so that when you connect it to the book, it has a little bit more hold to it. So on the short side, I put a 1-inch spacer, and this is a 1.5 inch spacer. So these 2 sides are 1.5, top and bottom 1 inch. I took the backing off the score tape and just laid it on there. So to wrap this, we're going to do the front and back cover exactly the same. What I like to do is bring the chipboard up and over on itself. And what did I just do with my, there it is. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of burnish it so that the paper knows where it's supposed to go. I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. And I am going to get 1/4 inch score tape. I'm going to get my tool to miter the corners. You don't have to have this tool. So what I do, you can either cut out the square or you can cut at an angle, which is what I like to do. When you cut at an angle, do not go straight to the chipboard. Leave about a 1/8 inch gap between your chipboard and the paper that you're cutting. This tool just makes sure that I do have the accurate spacing. So I'll get my blade. I don't like to waste score tape, so I put the score tape on after I cut my corners. So do that to all 4. You can see the amount of space I have between the corner and the edge of the paper. Slice it off. Slice and slice, slice and dice. All right. Let's go ahead and with your 1/4 inch score tape or whatever it is you like to use, I'm going to place the 1/4 inch around the perimeter of the chipboard first. I really want the paper to have a good hold onto the chipboard. When you make a book like this, the cover is really important because it gets more wear and tear than anything else. So to me, it's worth it to put in a little bit of extra tape and glue on this part. So go ahead and burnish that so it adheres to the chipboard. Now I'm going to take my score tape and go along the outside edge of my paper. Like so. And as we always do, you want to burnish that score tape so that it lays down real well when you take the backing off. Now, I'm going to use this bone folder when I do my corners, just because it's hard. It's not as flexible and it's got a sharper point here. So I always start with my long sides first. So I'm going to take my paper piecer thingy or my pokey tool, and I'm going to take off the backing on 3 of the sides of the chipboard, and I'll take it off of here on the paper. So we want there to be a good crisp edge on your cover. So to do that, you want to make sure the paper sticks to the chipboard. And so we're going to start by placing a stream or a bead of the art glitter glue up against the chipboard. And then I like to fill in glue in between my score tape and the chipboard. I always put the glue across the chipboard first, just so it kind of has an extra second or two to kind of soak in. And then I'm going to bring this up and over, and I want to make sure it lays down real flat. Then I take my burnishing tool and I give it a good burnish. If you have any excess glue, you can get your dry wet wipe or whatever you use. And then I'm going to take this and go across the edge to give it that smooth look. Okay, do the opposite side exactly the same way. Glue up against the chipboard first. Fill in between the score tape and the chipboard. Bring it up and over. I usually start in the middle and just kind of branch my hands out on each side. Give it a good burnish. And then do that on the edge. Do a good strong burnish. So this is where I use this bone folder. Because I do my corners at an angle, you have a little excess paper right here, and we want to make sure we tuck that in. So what I do is I just take the bone folder and push in and down around that chipboard corner. Push in and down. And on the other, might as well do all 4 at the same time. And that way the corners are covered and they're not, that extra paper won't be sticking out. Easy, easy. Repeat the gluing. Oops. Now when I bring this over, I just kind of make sure I hold those little corners down. They'll stay down probably, but just as a safety precaution. And then I'm going to go ahead and make sure that lays down flat. So you have a nice angled corner on the inside here. Okay, and let's do it one more time on this piece. I already tucked those corners down. I'm going to hold them down, bring it over. Nice and smooth. And just like I did the sides, I'm going to go ahead and give that a burnish on the edge, on the 5-inch side. You are going to do your second piece exactly the same, okay? I'm going to have to do it here in just a second. Let's go ahead and get the spine piece prepped. So I still put score tape. I just put it on the top and the bottom, not the sides. You won't need it. And just like we did before, we're going to train our paper. So bring it up and over. On all 4. All right. So we cut this one a little bit differently. I have 2 rectangles on each of the ends. You're going to cut at a diagonal, so you're going to go from the score that we got, the natural crease, over to the opposite corner here of that rectangle, and just give it a slice. And do that with all 4 corners. Clean up your area as you go so you don't have a big mess. At least that's how I roll. Okay. Now, I also want to train my paper to go the other way, because when we do our book, we open our cover back and forth, and so I want the paper to be able to go back and forth, okay? So I'm going to end up tucking this over and flattening this down all with glue so that it's laying up against the chipboard here on the sides. I'm going to kind of tuck it and then make sure it lays down flat. So what I like to do is put glue at the end of the chipboard. I'm going to bring up a little bit, like 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch on the side of the chipboard. And then I'm going to fill this in with my art glitter glue. Take that backing off. So I'm going to bring it up and over, and I'm going to make sure that I tuck that paper up against that chipboard. And then give it a good burnish on that side. Same over here. I'm going to make sure I get it up against the chipboard. Like so, and then I'm going to go ahead and smooth that edge. Let's do the opposite corner or side. So I'm going to be leaving these open. Fill in, even do these 2 little triangles at the edge. I have taught at some retreats, and as people have been doing it this way, a lot of times I notice they just put glue in the center. You need it on this whole trapezoid area. Oh, I want to do a little bit on the side of each chipboard piece here, just to make sure that the paper lays up against it nice and smooth. So as I bring it over, before I do any burnishing over here, I'm going to make sure I tuck it up against the chipboard, and then I smooth out the side. Okay, same over here. Make sure when I fold it over that it's getting up against that chipboard. And then I can push the other side down, get rid of any excess glue. Burnish the side here. Now you're going to want to take your burnishing tool and flip it over so that you have the papered side up. Just kind of lightly take your bone folder and push that paper up against the chipboard so you see a definite ridge. Okay, so the glue has had a chance to dry. Art glitter glue dries pretty quick. So we want to cut some of the excess. When we connect this to the book, we don't want any paper to accidentally go above the front and back cover. So we're going to slightly taper. So I'm going to rest my scissors up against the chipboard and give a slight angled cut. Like so, just a real slight one. Turn it over and do it to the other side also. Now I am going to prep my wings here. And again, it's worth it to me to put in a little bit of extra adhesive. So I first start with score tape. I go to the outside edge and put a strip. I put one in the center. And then I put one almost to the chipboard, but not quite. I leave about 1/8 of an inch gap. And I burnish that down. We're going to end up putting some art glitter glue on here also. Same on the other side, 3 pieces. And then not quite to the chipboard. Give that a burnish. Now I'm just going to trim. I have a little bit of excess. I could always tuck it over too. All right. So what's going to happen is we're going to end up putting the one cover, attach it to one side here, the other cover on the other side. Okay, so I'll do one side with you. I'm going to take off the backing. The covers actually go really fast once you're used to doing them. And I do think it's easier doing it this method than the other method that some people use, that I used to use, where you have that long piece of paper. And I do put just a little bit of glue along the outside edge here of that score tape. Now you can kind of fold that over just to make sure it's got a good bend. I'm going to put it right up against the chipboard here. And I'm happy with that. So I give it a good push and then I turn it over and I burnish. Okay. So before I can do the other one, I need to quickly do my other cover. So I'm going to whip through this. You can fast forward this part if you know what you're doing. I should just make a video where I make the cover so that I don't have to do it on camera every time and just refer people to that video, but I have not done that yet. Okay, get my handy dandy tool, which you don't have to have. Just make sure when you're angling that corner, what I do with the, when you're angling the corner, just don't go exactly to the chipboard. Leave a little bit of a gap there so that the paper can cover that corner. I should have had you timing to see how long it takes me to wrap a cover. Okay, now I'm getting my 1/4 inch tape, doing it on the perimeter of chipboard and paper. And then I'll burnish that down. Look how fast that goes. No time to mess around. Now, as I'm making this cover, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do on the inside? I'm not one of those people who has it pre-planned. I just sit down and I start, and I hope that I end up with something I'm happy with. Sometimes that works, sometimes not so much. All right, giving it a burnish. Okay, remember I start with the long side. You don't have to. That's just the habit that I have gotten into. Come on. I must not have burnished that one enough. It doesn't want to come up. There we go. glue up against chipboard. Fill in a little in the center. Start in the middle here and then branch your hands out so that you can smooth that down with no ripples. Give it a burnish. And you do want to do the edge. Repeat. Push, push, push. Any excess glue, you can, I use a dry wet wipe. Smooth that out. Now this is where I take this bone folder and tuck in my corners by pushing down and in. So it goes around that corner. I want it flat. Down and in. I used to kind of dread doing the covers because I would forget steps, I guess, when I first started. Now I like making the covers. Tuck those down. Give it a good burnish as always. And smooth. And we are almost done. Pull those corners down. All right, let me get rid of this backing. Okay. So let's bring our cover back over, and we need to put this one right here. Okay. So I'm going to take the backing off. Up. I put glue in between the score tape. And then I just put a tiny little bit on the edge of that score tape. I'm going to do it on this side. It's just easier. And you bump it up pretty much almost exactly to the chipboard. I mean, I barely have a space. Some people like to leave more of a space. It's up to you. So when I say a space, I'm talking about between the chipboard and the two pieces of chipboard. I have just a very tiny little space. Some people go bump it right up against the chipboard. Some leave a little bit more distance. It's a personal preference. Now, some people cover this with pattern paper. I don't. I just use the Artisan. Sometimes I do, but not very often. You don't really see it that much, and you're going to cover this with paper, so I don't waste it. Now, this piece was cut at 5 by 6 7/8. So our book is 7 inches high, so I went 1/8 of an inch smaller. The reason why I did 5 again is because when I cut my 7-inch piece, I just had 5 left over. Now I do want it to cover these two wings just so that it kind of smooths it down a little bit. So I'm going to take the backing off, and I just want to make sure I have the same amount of space up here as I do down here. And to me, the score sheets work best. If you use glue, a lot of times you get bumps and ripples. I don't like that. So I'm going to look down here first, make sure I have about 1/8 of an inch, which I do. I'll make sure that sticks down real well. And right now it's really stiff, right? But we are going to end up tucking that paper on the sides of the chipboard and kind of bending it up. So let me get I use this one again because it's got kind of a rounded one. It's not real sharp down here, and I don't want to poke through my paper. So I just slowly bring that up and kind of use this to push it down. Now, some people bring it all the way down flat. I don't think that's necessary, but you can. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Bring up the cover, tuck that around the spine piece, and there's our book. Okay. Ta-da. So now I have to decide if I want this to be a folio where I just add pages in without a hinge, or do I want a hinge? So this is 1.5. So I could do 3 pages. I could do 2 pages. Let's go. Let's go with 2 pages so that we have more spacing to add layers so that it's not going to be like an alligator mouth when you're done. So if I just put 2 hinges in, I could add more texture and layers on. So if our book is 7 inches tall, I'm going to make, I want my pages to be, do I want them 6.5? Do I want 6 3/4? Let's go. If I want my pages 6 3/4 inches high, that gives us 1/4 of it. That's only 1/8 of an inch here. Let's go 6.5 inches high. And so I'm going to cut my spine piece. Or my hinge piece. This should not be that hard to think about, but I'm just going to cut it a hair shorter than 6.5. So I don't have. So let's go. I don't know, 6 and I don't know, just a hair shorter than 6.5. And then I'm just doing 2 hinges. 1, 2, 2. Let's, let me just double check. 1, 2, 2.5. Let's go 3.5. 3.5 by a hair shorter than 6.5. Okay. So I'm going to cut my shortest one first, which is the 3.5 inch. And a hair shorter than 6.5, like 1/16 of an inch shorter. And then our pages will be 6.5. All right, so if you have not done a hinge, it's super easy. You're gonna put the 3.5 inches across the top of your scoreboard. And we're gonna score it every 1/2 inch. Oh, maybe. 1/2. Did I do that good enough? Yeah, 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2. You know, I really don't need 3.5 inches. 1, 1.5. Let's cut this down to 2.5, not 3.5. I used to do wings on my hinge, and I don't anymore. So I'm going to change that to 2.5. Okay, so let's do that again. 2.5 inches wide, scored at 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2. These first 2 rectangles are going to be glued together for hinge number 1. This third rectangle piece is going to be the gusset, and then these 2 are going to be glued together for another hinge. Okay, so I'm going to do some burnishing on those score marks. And then I'll do the same on the other end for the other hinge. So one thing you do want to check is that this piece on the end does not go lower than your gusset piece. And mine is pretty flush, so I don't think I need, I don't think I need to trim mine at all. I think that's going to be okay. So just 2 little hinges here. So get your glue. Let's glue the first 2 together. You can use score tape if you want. Get my dry wet wipe ready. Want to make sure those are together real well. And now I'm going to glue the other one together. Pinch it together. As I push down here, I just want to have a dry wet wipe to get the glue that squeezes out the ends. And that is all we need to do. And we're going to center this side to side on the spine, top and bottom. I'm going to kind of pinch these in as I glue it down to make sure I'm going to eyeball it. Now I will tell you that I have 1/2 inch spacers, and I'm going to kind of use those as a guide, but they move around. I wonder if I used repositional tape, if that would keep it down, but at least it'll give me an idea of where to put it. So I'm just going to kind of leave those there. I'm going to put glue all over this centerpiece. We want it to stay down in that book. So again, I'd rather put a hair too much on than not enough. Art glitter glue is awesome though, so I don't really need to worry about it. And I'm eyeballing top and bottom now because I have my sides here. And I'm just going to center that. That looks pretty stinking good. Push down. And I'm just going to fold this over and burnish it. Fold this one over and burnish it. There we go. So now we're ready for pages. Now our book is only 5 inches across, so we can use a 12-inch piece and fold it in half. So let's go ahead and just do the basic page. And I'm not going to do any layering quite yet, like flips and all that kind of fun stuff. So I need 2 pieces. I want them 6.5 tall. And I don't think I want it to go all the way 5 inches, because then it might hang out the edge of the book. So I'm going to go 4 3/4, I think. I want 4 3/4. 4, 8, 8.5, 9. Is that right? 3/4 and 3/4, 1.5, 1.5, and 8, 9.5. Okay, so we want 9 and 2 pieces. I'll write it down. For our pages, we're going to do 2 of them at 9.5, going across, by 6 3/4 inches. Nope, 6.5, I said, tall. 9.5 by 6.5. We're going to score this 9.5 piece at 4 3/4. Okay, so let's get those 2 ready. What did I say? 9.5. 6.5. So here's one, and what we're going to do is score this with the 9.5 inches across the top at 4 3/4. And you will do that with both pieces. I'm just doing one right now. Let's go ahead and burnish that. Make sure your corners line up. Okay, so I'm going to do the back piece. Ooh, those lined up perfectly. I'm going to lay this down, and I want to make sure that I center it on that little hinge. Remember, it's just a hair shorter than 6.5. I want to make sure that it's even going straight across, and it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my paper down, move that hinge over, and I'm going to put glue on one side, and I'm going to bring that over and push it down. Now I do want to have it open at the top, because I have enough paper that I can add an insert at the top. Okay. So now when I close this, I'm going to put glue across the bottom and then on the top of that hinge. Bring it over. Voila. Give it a good burnish. And then I'm going to fold it over. I'm not as happy with that as I wanted to be. I see too much hinge. Sassafras. I didn't push it in all the way. Well, aren't I cranky about that? Okay, I'm going to do the other one because now I want to be perfect. I want to do it right. Ugh. What did I say? 6.5 by 9.5. I need one more. So I'm going to cut the 6.5 first to save paper. And then 9.5. Again on the 9.5 inch side. Now you're not going to be able to tell, but by the time we add all the decorations and stuff, nobody's going to notice that, but I notice it. Score it 4 3/4. This is just a little book with lots. So I hope I have a lot of embellishments. Okay, fold it over so that those corners meet. Before I push down to burnish. Hold it. Now we do want to make sure that when we put this one on, that it lines up with the page below it. So make sure that these line up, okay? So I have it where I want it. Lift up. I'm going to put that glue on there. And make sure I push the page in all the way like I want. And got it. Yeah, much better. Okay, and now we're going to put glue on the top of the hinge and along the bottom to close it off. I'm not going all the way to the edge because the glue will squish at the edge here. And I don't want it to come out. I might need a hair more. Okay. And burnish that. Look how much we got done in such a short amount of time. Yeah, I like that page way better. All right, so now you can see that we have plenty of room, plenty of space to add a lot of different features to make it interactive. All right, so now I have to go to the drawing board and start thinking about how I want to add to those pages. We are ready to do the inside cover, and I went ahead and put pattern paper on the inside front. However, after I decided on the design I was going to do, I did not need to waste all of this. I could have just done about 3 inches and that would have been plenty. I did the whole page. So I already started this thinking I was recording and I was not. So let me go ahead and let's get caught up here. So you're gonna need a piece that's 5 7/8 by 6 1/4. That is going to become a pocket that we put on here. You'll need one that's 1 1/2 by 5. That's going to be a closure piece with a magnet. You'll need one that's 4 7/8 by 4 7/8. That's going to be the top page of the waterfall. That's going to have a tab. You'll need one that's 4 7/8 by 5. That's going to be a flip on top of the envelope or the pocket, and then 3 that are 4 7/8 by 4 1/8. So go ahead and write those measurements down. You can freeze, cut while it's on freeze, whatever. But these are the measurements for this inside cover right here. Now, here's what I started doing this without having the video going. So what we're gonna do is start with the 5 7/8 by 6 1/4, okay? You're going to place the 5 7/8 across the top of your board, and you're gonna score it 1/2. You'll turn it once, score it 1/2, and then you'll turn it one more time so that the 5 7/8 is across the top, and you're going to score it at 1/2 again. You are going to miter the tops of the 1/2 inch pieces, and you're going to cut at an angle down at the bottom so that it gets rid of bulk, and you don't, just make sure you go right to the corner. You'll score those so that you're going to have a pocket that folds on 3 sides, just like so, okay? Now, on the other side, I've already done some work. That's where the mistake happened. I thought I was recording. So pretend like this isn't here. The 1 1/2 by 5 inch piece, you're gonna score it at 1/2 and at 5/8. And that's so that you have a 1/8 inch gusset right here so that you have a little bit of room with the waterfall. And then I did glue that in the center of my envelope, or I keep saying envelope, my pocket. Now I am going to end up putting a magnet here for a closure. So if you're papering, putting your pattern paper on first, make sure you leave this and put the magnet on first. Okay. Now I'm going to take the 4 7/8 by 5 piece. And again, I'm sorry, I already cut this thinking I was recording. Place your 5 inches across the top. You're going to score at half and at 5/8, just like we did the skinny piece here. I went ahead and burnished it. I did corner round these, and then I glued the 1/2 inch strip to the bottom of the pocket. So this is what we have so far. So what's going to happen is this is going to go to the bottom here. We have a 1/8 gusset at the top piece and the bottom piece, okay? And then we're gonna have a waterfall inside. So this will be a pocket and then a waterfall, okay? Now, if you're papering ahead of time, again, there's gonna be a magnet closure, so you'll need to save this for a magnet first. So now when it comes to the waterfall, these were the pieces that were 4 7/8 by 4 7/8, and then 4 7/8 by 4 1/8. These 3 you are going to put on your scoreboard with the 4 1/8 inch across the top, and you're just going to score at 1/2. I did corner round, so you'll do that with your 3 pieces. Now the next one that was 4 7/8 by 4 7/8, I put my 4 7/8 across the top and I scored at 1/2. But then I used my tab punch board and made a tab for that top piece, okay? So that's why this one's a little bit bigger. I went ahead and I papered the tops already, because like I said, thought I was recording. And I don't know yet, depending on how much paper, I may go back and put pattern paper on the opposite side, but for right now, I'm not going to. And I do need to go back and put paper here, and I'll probably put some sort of decoration here too. I haven't got that far yet, but I will use my punch board and cover this with a different paper. All right, so now I'm gonna get my pocket. You do wanna make sure you glue the top and the bottom on first. So now I'm gonna take the piece that has the tab, and I'm gonna glue that to the top like so. Okay, now you can use your scoreboard as a guide. Do not cut don't miter those 1/2 inch pieces. We leave those solid, a solid rectangle. So then I'm gonna put my glue on. Again, this is the tabbed piece. This was the one that was a little bit larger. And I'm gonna just go ahead and line this up at the very top. Like so. And then I'm going to open it and burnish it. Now I have maybe just a hair of an overhang on paper, and I do not like that. So I'm just going to do a slight trim right now before I keep going. So I can see a little bit of an overhang, and I don't want that. Okay. So now I'm going to do the next piece, and I'm going to butt it right up against this 1/2 inch, and it's going to be this one. So I will bump it up right against that 1/2 inch piece I glued down. And I need to make sure I line everything up nice and neat. Again, you can use your scoreboard as a guide. Because I worked ahead of myself, it's just going to be easier if I line it up by eyesight. Okay, I open it and I burnish it. Do I have a, no, I'm good. There's no overhang there. Do the 3rd piece and then the 4th piece. Bump it up against the 1/2 inch. And I will go back and put a 3/8 inch strip to cover that 1/2 inch connector piece there. And then finally this last one will go right here. And then I will be putting probably a pocket, I don't know yet. I gotta figure that out. I might just put a place for a picture. Like I said, I usually am a type of designer who designs as I go, and that's hard for some people. Some people map everything out with measurements, and that doesn't work for me. I have to see it as I go. I wish I was that way, but okay, so we have our pocket. This will close and this will be like so, and we'll still be able to put things behind here, okay? So now I need to decide if I want to put anything here. Probably not because of the bulk. And then right here, do I want a pocket or do I just want to make this a place for a picture? I think I might do a pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of paper. So here's another measurement I haven't given you yet. I don't want the pocket to be very deep. And I'm just going to get my scraps. So I have some scraps here. And this is 4 7/8 wide, so I need this to be 4 5/8. And this is 3. So I'm going to do 4 5/8. Excuse me, 4 7/8 by 3. Nope, I lied. You have to add an inch on. 5 7/8 by 3. Okay, so 5 7/8 by 3. You always go an inch wider when you're making your pocket. So now I'm going to score on the 5 7/8 inch side at a 1/2. Rotate it once. I'm going to go ahead and do it at 2 1/2. It's easier for me. Rotate it one more time and do a 1/2. So this is basically what we did with the first pocket that we've been building off of that I did not record. So you are going to miter the top at an angle here. Now at the corner you see a square. We're going to cut it off at an angle on both sides. Okay, then let's go ahead and burnish. Okay. Now you can put your pattern paper on first if you want, but to save time, I will do that off camera. And I'm going to see, we have an 1/8 of an inch gusset down here. We scored this flap at 1/2 and at 5/8. So when I put this pocket on like so, there should be enough space that there's no bulk. Okay, that's going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on the 3 sides. And let's line that up here. Don't go over the score. Okay, that's still good. All right. And then I will go and put pattern paper on here. I'll probably try and look for one of the cut aparts and put that down here just to give it some little interest here. And then after I do all of my pattern paper, then I will, and my magnet, so I'll put a magnet here and put the two magnets together, put tape on it, close it, and then when you lift it, your other magnet's in the right spot, and then pattern it. And then I'll just lay that here at the bottom, and then you have a pocket and a little waterfall. Okay, all right, let me do that. I put the front cover together, and this is what it looks like. So I had one of the cut aparts. This lifts up, and I did put another cut apart on the other side. And then I loved this picture of the camper. I left this plain for a picture down here at the bottom. So I did fussy cutting of the picnic table. You can see that, and I left it open so you could tuck a picture in there. So far, I have not put anything on the back. I did on the tab, but I might go back depending on how much paper I have left, and I'll put that. I did fussy cut this little trailer out on the corner. I'll probably cut some words out perhaps and put them here. And then I just did a cutout. Now this paper here, I actually got from Country Craft Creations a long time ago. It's a graphic 45 paper. Oh, it was one with all those flowers, the real bright flowers. But this side I thought matched pretty well with some of the peaches. And so that's what I used on that. And I'm just gonna tuck that underneath here. And then I did do a larger mat also with that same paper, okay? And that just goes right there behind. So now we're gonna work on the back cover. So here are the measurements you're going to need for paper: a 6 7/8 by 10.5 inch piece, a 4 by 8, a 5 by 8, two that measure 1 1/8 by 7 7/8, and then one that's 6 by 4.5. Okay, so either freeze or just go ahead and jot those down. So I'm going to start with the larger piece. So this is the 6 7/8 by 10.5, and you're going to place the 10.5 across the top of your scoreboard, and you're going to score at 5 and at 10. Okay. Now, you're going to want to fold it. It's actually going to be attached to the book like this so that it comes out. So this 1/2 inch I burnished behind, and the 5 inch I folded over to the right. Okay, so that's going to be like an accordion type piece that comes out. The next piece that was 4 by 8, all I did was score that in half with the 8 inches across the top. I scored at 4. That's just going to be placed right here on the front. I might do it a little bit lower, and then that will raise. And if I glue it on 3 sides, then I'll have a pocket. So when you open this, it's going to open like so. And this page will be the plain. I'll just add decoration and stuff for photos. On this side, you're going to need 3 pieces. You're going to need the 2 pieces that were 1 1/8 by 7 7/8, and you're going to need the 5 by 8. Okay. You're going to take your thin strips here, and with the 7 7/8 inches across the top, you are going to score at 1/2 on each end. So score it a 1/2 and a 1/2, so that you have a 1/2 on each end. Do that to both pieces. And then you're going to take the 5 by 8 with the 8 inches across the top, score at 4. Turn it, the 5 inches across the top, score at 1/2 and 4.5. Okay, so that's what we're going to work with right now. I'm going to go ahead and do my burnishing. So these are going to become, it's going to become like a double belly band. And then I'm going to have a pocket on the top of it. It'll make more sense once you see it. Okay. So these will be attached to the book like so, and then I want a pocket on the top. So that's where this one comes in. So we are going to do some cutting. So we need to take off one section, the lower section of the, or the upper section, doesn't matter because they're the same height, We're going to take off one of the 1/2 inch rectangles on each side, and we are going to do it at an angle. So I'm going to cut up to the corner there, and then I'm just going to slice off. I'm going to do it on both sides, cut up to that corner, and I don't cut that straight, so I'm going to use my cutter and cut them off. Let me do it real quick. Okay, so I cut off the 2 side pieces, and now we just have the 1/2 inch on one end. So then you can burnish. Like I said, this will become a pocket that's going to go on top of the belly band. And I think I am going to go back and miter these at the top. Go ahead and miter those at an angle. And if you want a thumb hole, which I do, I'm just going to take, so these are going to end up coming together like so. So I'll make this my front, and I'm just going to eyeball it. Like so. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this so that it's a closed pocket. Okay. Got a little excess glue squeezing out here on the side. Oh, I just dropped those. Okay. So when you put this together, because this is 6 7/8, I don't necessarily need to miter my 1/2 inch, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave them flush, or, you know, straight. And I'm putting this 1/2 inch, I'm going to glue it on the right hand side. I'm going to turn my book sideways so it's easier for me to see. And I'm going to go to the very edge. Okay, I'm going to lay it down to make sure it's even. Go ahead and open that up. Okay. Now, before I can put this here, I will need to put pattern paper on first, and then I'm going to put glue on 3 sides of the back so that I can not only flip it up, but then have a tuck spot. Okay. Then this opens, and on this side will be plain. This side is where we're going to put the 2 belly bands. We'll put one here and one here. And you will have to put paper on your belly bands before you can adhere the pocket, okay? And then we'll place the pocket right like that. So you can tuck things behind, and you can tuck things in the pocket. So before you put it together, you do want to put the pattern paper right here on these 2. Then you can glue this piece down, okay? Now, the only other thing we need to do then is when we open it this way, I do want a pocket here, right on this side. So that's where your last piece comes in. And this is the piece that was 6 by 4.5, is that right? Yep. So I went ahead, and on the 4.5 inch side, I scored it half. Now I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to fold that back. And I'm also going to score at 1/2 on the left. Where'd my scoring tool go? And so we'll, let's see, then I'm going to turn it around and do 1/2 on the other side. So it kind of looks like it's going to be a pocket. And if I do it right, I don't know. We'll see. I want it to be an angled, 2 angled pockets overlapping one another. I think this will work. I'm going to cut with the 1/2 inches to the back. I'm going to cut at a diagonal. And I want to go from this corner to this corner, not at the very bottom, up at the 1/2 inch. So I'll cut that at a diagonal. Okay, so then we're going to miter this. And we need to take out this corner. Okay. And now I want to slide this underneath. So now I need to take this piece and flip it to the back. I don't want that 1/2 inch at the bottom because there's already a 1/2 inch down here, so it'll just set in there. Okay, so this is what the pocket will look like. And then on this page, you're going to glue that to the bottom. So you'll glue this one down first. And then you'll come back and put glue on that 1/2 inch, and you'll slide that under and glue it like so. Okay, so that's what it'll look like. This I'm probably going to leave plain. If not, what would I do? I think I'm going to leave it plain because I'll have some bulk on this side. Okay, so now I'm going to do my pattern paper. I did one change, so I'm going to show you how I did the back cover. I ended up doing the X pocket on the front, and then I did the flip pocket on the inside. Otherwise, everything was the same. So I had a graphic 45 tag that I covered. I have the die that cuts out the matting. So that's going to go there. I still need to add some seam binding at the top. This is flat. I just left a place for a picture, and then maybe a date down here. I did some fussy cutting with the station wagon. So here's this page that had the 2 belly bands and the pocket. So I just put a mat behind that. And you can just use your scraps for that. And then I had a die that I used for this tag and just glued it on top to give it more stability on top of artisan cardstock. Okay, and so then it will open, and then I just had a tag label, a die, and I had a punch for this, and this just opens like so. I did leave this open at the top, so let me just put a piece of paper there so I don't forget that. Oh, that's too wide. I'm just looking through my scraps. I don't like that one. Scraps. Do I just try this one? Let me just trim this a little bit. This is 3 inches. And I'll do it about 4 inches tall, 3 by 4. Like so. So then I can use that as a picture place also. All right. Oops. All right, so now I'm going to go to the inside pages because I'm going to do angled pockets, and I want it to kind of look like a tent. So I'm just going to do an angle pocket on the inside, and that's it. And then we can do a little bit more on the front and the back. So you're gonna need 2 pieces that are 5 1/4 by 7. Okay, and that's gonna be angled pockets. Move that to the side. So you're going to need to score on the 5 1/4 inch side at 1/2, and on the 7 inch side at 1/2. That doesn't sound right to me. 5 1/4 by 7. I kind of wanted it to go to the very top. The pages are 6 1/2. Oh, that's right, because pages are 6 1/2 tall. Okay, so we're gonna do one for this side, and then we're gonna need to do another one for this side. So just to help myself remember, I'm gonna do the 5 1/4 inch, and I'm gonna go to 4 3/4 and 6 1/2. Okay, so then I have one for each side. We're gonna get our scissors and cut off the corner at an angle. We're gonna miter on the 1/2 inch pieces. So you have a miter at the top, down at the bottom, that squared off corner, and then on the other end. We'll do the same thing on the opposite piece for the opposite page. Okay, so let's go ahead and burnish those. And we're going to cut them at an angle. So that'll be one side. Actually, that's going to go like that. Is that right? Yeah. It's just the opposite of what you would think as far as putting it on the page. The long side will go to the inside. Okay, so the 1/2 inches are going to go to the inside of the book. So I need to angle this from the top down to the opposite corner. Okay, so I just sliced it off, and that's going to be one side of the tent. And now I need to do the 1/2 inch is towards the inside, and I'm going to cut at this angle. Okay, and so that will be our pockets on the inside. And we'll put them like so, and then I'll try and make it look like a tent with my decorating. Okay, so that's all we're going to do on the inside. I'm not going to glue it down until I have it covered first. Okay, now on the front, I'm going to use a graphic 45 tag. This is one of the longer ones. And I made a pencil mark. I want it to show just a little bit above the top of my page. So I made a pencil mark, and I'm going to score on that pencil mark. Let me get this out of the way. So it looks like it's at about, no, I didn't do it right. The tag itself is about almost 8 3/4, and so this is at 7 1/4 that I am scoring it. Okay, I'm going to bend that back. Okay, and I will glue that. Well, let's put our pocket on first. I want a pocket. Let me get my scraps out of the way here. Okay, my pocket. Where did it go? I put it, I just had it 3 1/2. I just had it. Just went through. Nope. Did I just cut it by mistake? Huh. Where did I put the stupid thing? I wanted it 3 1/2. I don't know what I did with it. That's 4. Oh, for Pete's sake. Oh, you know what? I probably just cut it for that pocket thingy. All right, I'll have to cut another one. So I want it to be 3.5 so that when I fold it down, it's going to be about 3. Okay. And when I measure the distance across this tag, it's 3 7/8. Okay. So I'm going to have a piece that's 4 7/8 by 3.5. Okay. 4 7/8, 3.5. So I'm going to make it into a pocket by scoring on 3 sides, 1/2 on all 3. And I'm going to end with that 4 7/8 at the top. Okay. Go ahead and burnish. I got glue on my hands. I don't understand how people can do this without getting their hands all gluey. I try, but I just can't do it. Okay, so then let's miter the top. And cut off the square on the corner at an angle. Okay, and I think I'm going to make a decorative top. I think I'm going to use this punch. I'm going to try and center it here. That's about centered. And line it up. Line it up. All right. So I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut this at an angle. Like that. I don't really like this little piece right here, not at all. I might end up covering it with, well, we'll see how it looks. Okay. So this will be the side that's attached to the book. Now, if you want, again, you can attach it by just gluing on 3 sides and making this a little pocket. Okay, so to do that, you would have to cover this first with your pattern paper, then glue this down on 3 sides, and you'd have a little pocket here, which I think is what I'm going to do. And I'm also then going to put that pocket that we just cut on top like so. All right, and that's all we're going to do to the front of that page. So this is what the first page on the front looks like. The pocket with the tag here. I did just put one of the cut aparts in here. Still need to do the seam binding. When you pull this down, then I just, this was a little bit short, so I had to add a little something. Glued it on the 3 sides. I have this little cut apart here, and I did a fussy cut of the tent. Now I did do 2 mats for the top. I just used, let's see. The mat is, or the cardstock is 4 by 6.5, and then I had that punch. Okay, so I just did one side. I'm running kind of low on paper, and I still have to do the front cover and stuff. And then we have this. I just put the 2 cut aparts. These are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Okay, I think that I tried to make it look like a tent. So there's my tent. I did do the middle also. It is kind of tight here because I had to put these pockets right up against the edge so they don't lay as flat as I would like. but I thought that looked like the I mean, it is mountains, but I thought it looked more like the setting of it, the background for the tent. And then these have the clouds. And then I just put these in here for color and for writing. So we still need to do this page. I already did the mat, the second mat too. I put one of the tabs on the left and one on the right, same dimensions as the first one. And so the back one, because I'm running kind of low on paper, I am going to make it kind of basic. And all I'm going to do is a belly band with a card that hangs over it. So you're going to need 2 pieces of paper. One is 2.5 by 5 3/4, and the other one is 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. Okay, so the 2.5 by 5 3/4, we're just going to make that our belly band. So we're going to need to, where did I put it? There it is. Do a half on each end with the 5 3/4 across the top. And then the piece that's going to be hanging over the belly band, I'm going to put the 8 1/2 inches across the top and go at 4 1/4. So like I said, this one's going to be super easy. Let's go ahead and, I want this on the outside, so I'm going to burnish it. There it is. And same way with the belly band, I'm going to burnish. You don't have to miter those 1/2 inch pieces because it's not at the top or the bottom of a page. Okay, so then what's going to happen is this will just slide and hang. So we have to make sure we place it somewhere where it's not going to hang over the page. So I'm going to do it about there. Well, let's see. I want it to go to the bottom. All right. So I'm just going to put glue on the 1/2 inch sides. And I am going to glue it with this so I know where I want it. What am I doing? So I'm just going to hang this here. All right. And then I'll just decorate. Perfect. Okay. And that's all I'm going to do because, like I said, I'm running low on paper. So I'll go ahead and I'll finish putting the seam binding on, the decorating. I'll do the front, I'll show you I'll do the back and the front covers, and I'll do a walkthrough. And hopefully this is an easy little project that has a lot of bang for your buck. I think it's super cute. All right, I'll finish it up and do a walkthrough.